Imagine boarding a flight buzzing with excitement, only to be told to give up your seat, not because you did anything wrong, but because someone decided you didn't belong. When two black siblings face a demanding passenger and a misguided crew, one phone call flips the entire flight upside down. Secrets unravel power shifts, and karma lands harder than a turbulent touchdown. Stay tuned. This real-life drama will leave you speechless. Amara Thompson, a sharp 19-year-old with a passion for filmmaking, was tweaking her camera's focus as she stood by the window at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport. August sunlight bathed the tarmac in a shimmering haze. Planes roaring outside, each one a reminder of the endless possibilities a flight could bring. Younger brother Noah, 17, clutched his carry-on backpack, a mix of excitement and nerves in his eyes. Despite his youth, Noah carried a maturity beyond his years. A rising pianist, this trip to Los Angeles meant everything. He was chasing an audition at a prestigious conservatory. Their father, William Thompson, had hinted at connections in the aviation industry, but never revealed the full extent. A private man he shunned, flaunting the privileges life had granted him. Amara and Noah were used to economy seats and the usual airport hustle. They rarely questioned why some staff seemed to recognize their last name. Thompson was common enough to avoid suspicion. What they didn't know was that behind the scenes, their father was the majority owner of Skyways Airlines, one of the nation's most successful commercial carriers. That morning, Amara and Noah arrived at JFK, buzzing with anticipation. Amara was eager to document the trip for a travel vlog, dreaming of capturing every moment. Noah couldn't wait to lean against the plane window, watching clouds drift by as he mentally rehearsed his audition. In their minds, this was set to be an unforgettable journey, though neither could predict just how unforgettable it would become. After breezing through security, they approached their gate, C-33, where their Los Angeles flight would soon board. Passengers crowded the waiting area, families wrangling kids and strollers, business travelers tapping laptops, tourists flipping through guidebooks. Amara scanned the crowd, noticing a few curious glances their way. Over the years, she'd grown skilled at reading subtle expressions, some friendly, some less. So she brushed it off, focusing on the positive. A direct coast-to-coast flight in the heart of summer, brimming with new opportunities. Noah tapped her shoulder. "Hey, sis," he murmured. "Think Dad'll meet us in LA." He's been cryptic about this trip. Amara gave him a playful nudge. "You know, Dad's always got a surprise up his sleeve. I bet he'll pop by at some point. He's busy, but he never misses our big adventures." A voice crackled over the intercom. "Passengers on Skyways Airlines. Flight 722, non-stop service to Los Angeles International Airport. We'll begin pre-boarding for those needing special assistance or traveling with young children. Please line up near the gate." Amara and Noah grinned, inching closer to the gate. Noah fumbled with his backpack, straps mentally reviewing chord progressions for his audition. Amara rehearsed her vlog intro in her head, clutching her camera, ready to capture every nuance of the experience. From their seats to their LA landing, boarding went smoothly. When their group was called, they scanned their boarding passes and walked down the jetway, the hum of the plane's engines fueling their excitement. Stepping into the cabin, they inhaled the familiar scent of upholstery, coffee, and recycled air. A slightly flustered flight attendant flashed a welcoming smile, before directing them to seats near the front. Amara and Noah had been upgraded to premium economy, a small gift from their father, though they assumed it was just a perk of his frequent flyer status. They settled into seats 8A and 8B. Amara tucked her camera bag under her feet, ensuring it was secure, while Noah pulled out a small notebook filled with musical notations. "Just gotta tweak this piece a bit," he muttered, flipping through pages. Amara nodded, smiling reassuringly. "You'll nail it, Noah. I know you will." Glancing around, she marveled at the larger windows, comfy legroom, and extra space compared to past flights. But they had no idea chaos loomed, not from stormy clouds or pilot announcements, but from a cunning passenger, an entitled attitude, and a crew about to make the biggest mistake of their careers. Minutes after settling in the cabin filled with passengers shuffling down the aisle, balancing carry-ons and searching for overhead bins, murmured chatter echoed as strangers swapped seats or wrestled oversized bags. Flight attendants bustled, verifying seat assignments and ensuring safety protocols. Amara overheard a voice both commanding and condescending near the main entrance. "Excuse me, move aside it," hissed. "Don't you see I'm priority boarding?" The speaker was a middle-aged woman with neatly trimmed blonde hair, the textbook Karen Amara recognized from viral internet clips. Dressed impeccably in an ivory blazer, pressed slacks, and impractical high heels. Her attitude radiated impatience and entitlement. She carried a large tote bag in one hand and clutched what looked like a designer wallet in the other. A flight attendant tried to greet her, but the woman brushed past, offering only a curt nod. Amara privately dubbed her Karen, watching as she surveyed the seats like a general inspecting troops. She appeared to be seated in business class a few rows away, but Amara noticed her lingering near row 8, eyeing Amara. Noah and their seats, with an intensity that sent chills down her spine. Noah paused his note-taking. "Know her," he whispered. Amara shook her head, but a sinking feeling told her this woman's presence spelled trouble. Karen sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes toward a flight attendant. "These aren't the seats I requested," she declared, her shrill voice carrying through the cabin. "I booked seats with extra legroom. I won't be comfortable elsewhere. I'm an executive diamond frequent flyer." Or did you forget the flustered attendant tried to stay polite? "Ma'am, I understand your concern," but Karen snapped her fingers. "I don't want explanations. I want my reserved seats." In a lower tone, she added, "And hurry up. I don't have all day." Amara and Noah exchanged wary glances. The attendant checked Karen's boarding pass and frowned. "Your seat is 12A in premium economy, very comfortable. Unfortunately, row 8 is occupied." Karen's gaze locked onto Amara and Noah, her stare cutting through them like they were squatters in her domain. Amara quickly faced forward, avoiding a confrontation before takeoff, but she felt the woman's intense glare burning into her neck. "I see who's in those seats," Karen muttered loud enough for Amara and Noah to hear, as if she'd found her scapegoats. Amara, a young black woman with neatly coiled hair, and Noah, a lanky black teen in worn sneakers, seemed to be her targets. The attendant's eyes darted nervously between the siblings and the irate passenger. Karen's tone sharpened. "I want this fixed," she ordered, pointing at the attendant, then at Amara and Noah. "I was promised row 8 left side to be near the front. This is unacceptable. Amara's stomach twisted. She hated assuming the worst. But Karen's behavior felt more personal than a mere seat dispute. Noah glanced at her worry, etching his face. The attendant's face paled, unsure of the next step. Amara sensed this wasn't a simple booking error. Tension cloaked their row thick enough to slice with a plastic butter knife. Relief came when another attendant, a calm woman in her late 20s, stepped in. She explained to Karen that the flight was full, and the siblings had valid boarding passes for row 8. Karen's only response was an indignant huff. "We'll see about that," she muttered, storming toward the front, likely to confront the lead attendant or even the captain. Noah exhaled. Maybe we dodged a bullet. Amara wasn't convinced, watching Karen whisper insistently to another attendant near the cockpit. The crew member listened intently, occasionally glancing their way. Amara turned to Noah, who was trying to refocus on his music. "I've got a bad feeling." "This isn't the last we'll see of her," she whispered. To stay calm, Amara adjusted her camera lens, capturing small details like the overhead panel and safety card for her vlog. She overheard Karen's loud voice punctuating the aisle. "Do you know who I am? And I've spent thousands on your flights." Little did they know, those words were about to ignite an unforgettable battle. Before the plane could close its doors for takeoff, the seeds of a larger confrontation were sown, one that would test the siblings' composure, the airline crew's integrity, and the lengths a father would go to protect his children. The final boarding call buzzed over the intercom, and passengers stuffed last-minute items into overhead bins. Seat belts clicked. The soft hum of air conditioning flowed from vents. As Amara and Noah tried to settle negative energy, seemed to swirl around Karen. From her vantage point near the forward galley, Karen was gesturing animatedly at a tall, middle-aged flight attendant in a crisp uniform with a gold name tag reading Lead Attendant Michael Carter. Michael's face remained professionally neutral, but Amara could sense his growing unease as Karen's demands escalated. She glanced at Noah, who was humming audition notes, a mental exercise to soothe his nerves. She knew his focus was slipping. This wasn't just pre-audition jitters. It was the kind of confrontation no one wanted at 35,000 feet. Suddenly, Karen charged down the aisle, her designer heels clacking like a metronome signaling trouble. She stopped at row 8, glaring at Amara and Noah. "I've spoken to the lead attendant," she announced, her eyes sweeping over them with arrogance. "He understands my seats were misassigned," pointing at their seats. She added, "I want these, and I'll have them." Noah blinked, anxiety flickering. Amara fought to stay calm, her chest tightening. Keeping her tone polite, Amara responded, "These are our assigned seats, Mom. If there's an airline system error, maybe you should resolve it with the gate staff." Karen snorted, crossing her arms. "I've done that. Seems the flight's oversold. You two should move and make this easier for everyone." Noah finally spoke, his voice trembling. "Why should we move? We paid for these seats, or at least they were assigned to us. We have every right to be here." Karen's face twisted, deepening the lines around her mouth. "You think you're entitled to premium economy seats?" she asked, her tone dripping with condescension. "Newsflash, people like me always fly in these seats. I'm a platinum member, and this airline knows me." Behind her, Michael Carter approached, offering a diplomatic smile. "Ma'am, perhaps we can find a solution that works for everyone." Karen tossed her hair back. "Yes, we can by moving them." She pointed a manicured finger at Amara and Noah. "I'm sure there are seats in the back." Amara's anger flared, but she recalled her father's advice on handling conflict. Stay polite, stand firm, and document if needed. Discreetly, she activated her camera, letting it record from her lap. She didn't want to escalate, but knew evidence could be crucial if things worsened. Michael cleared his throat. "I'm afraid the flight is quite full, and these passengers have valid seat claims. I can offer you a compensation voucher for another flight, or see if we can rebook you on a better seat tomorrow." Karen's jaw tightened. "Absolutely not. I'm flying today. I won't wait, and I won't sit behind row 8. If you don't move them, I'll have to escalate this further." With that ominous threat, she spun on her heel and marched toward the cockpit. Michael trailing, visibly anxious. Amara's pulse pounded. "What does she mean by escalate?" Noah whispered. Amara shrugged, feigning more calm than she felt. "No idea, but stay put. We have our boarding passes. We didn't do anything wrong." Nearby passengers began noticing. Some looked annoyed at the disruption. Others offered sympathetic smiles. An older man in row 9 leaned forward, whispering, "Don't worry. She's just a typical Karen. She can't force you out." Amara nodded, grateful for his reassurance, but unease lingered. Minutes passed, and Amara hoped the issue might fizzle out. Maybe Karen would cool off, or the cabin doors would close and the flight would proceed. But her hopes shattered when a second attendant approached her face. Stern. Her name tag read, "Flight Attendant." Supervisor, Susan. Susan crouched beside Amara's seat, lowering her voice. "I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but we have a passenger insisting these seats were booked under her name. We may need you to relocate." Amara and Noah stared in disbelief. Amara kept her voice steady. "We have our boarding passes right here for row 8. We boarded without issues. We haven't violated any airline policy." Susan nodded sympathetically, but her eyes betrayed stress. "I understand, but sometimes booking errors happen, and we're trying to accommodate all passengers, especially frequent flyers. Would you mind gathering your belongings? We'd like to reassign you to the rear." Noah's anger flared, though he kept his tone soft. "No. Honestly, no. We have these seats." "Why should we move?" Susan stood. "I'm trying to prevent a larger conflict. If you resist, this could be reported to the captain. We don't want to remove anyone from the flight entirely." The threat of removal sent a chill through Amara. She needed to film her vlog. Noah had his audition. They'd done nothing wrong. Yet she recalled news stories of passengers dragged off flights over seat disputes or overbooking. This can't be happening, she thought. Taking a slow breath, Amara said, "We refuse to move. We paid for these seats, and they were legally assigned to us." She held up her phone, trembling, showing their digital boarding passes. "We won't move without an official reason." Susan pursed her lips. "All right, I'll need to speak with the captain." She walked away. Noah patted Amara's shoulder. "This is insane," he whispered. "They can't make us move without a real reason, right?" Amara nodded, placing a reassuring hand on his arm, though inside she simmered with anger and fear. The plane hadn't even left the gate yet. They felt cornered by an entitled passenger's demands and a crew seemingly eager to appease her. Neither sibling realized it, but this was just the prelude to a drama that would stretch far beyond seat assignments, vouchers, or petty arguments. The entire airline crew was about to make a career-altering decision, and one phone call to the right person, their father William Thompson, Skyway's secret owner, would change everything when the cockpit door opened, and the Captain James Lawson stepped into the cabin. His face was grim, and he moved with the authority of someone who'd spent years in the cockpit. He spoke briefly with Michael Carter and Susan, then to Amara's dismay approached row 8, Karen trailing like a victorious predator. "Good afternoon," Captain Lawson began, his voice tinged with fatigue. "We're dealing with a seating conflict. Our priority is a safe, on-time departure." Karen nodded smugly, glancing at Amara and Noah. Amara gripped her camera, still discreetly recording. She noticed other passengers filming with their phones. Tension was palpable, the overhead vent seeming to blow harder. Captain Lawson cleared his throat. "The passenger here. Ms. Harper claims she purchased these seats. There may have been a booking discrepancy. To keep the flight smooth, we're asking you two to relocate. We have seats in row 27 available at no extra cost." Noah couldn't believe his ears. "This isn't fair," he said, his voice shaking. "We have valid boarding passes." Karen crossed her arms, a sneer curling her lips as she watched their distress. "Kids, sometimes life isn't fair," she said with a dismissive shrug. Captain Lawson raised a hand to quell further argument. "I understand your frustration. However, we need to resolve this quickly, or we risk delaying everyone. If you refuse, we may have to remove you from the flight for non-compliance with crew instructions." His words hung like a dense fog. Amara scanned the cabin, seeking support from other passengers. She saw sympathetic faces, but no one wanted to risk escalating a confrontation that could get them kicked off too. Taking a shaky breath, Amara forced herself to speak calmly. "Captain Lawson, we're just following our boarding passes. We didn't cause this. Isn't there an official record the airline can check to confirm seat ownership?" Karen sighed dramatically, as if exhausted by Amara's questions. "It doesn't matter. I have priority status. You're in my seats. Don't drag this out." Captain Lawson's expression softened as if he felt guilty, but he was bound by protocol or pressure from a self-proclaimed VIP, "Ma'am, sir." He said to Amara and Noah, "It would help if you'd cooperate. The flight needs to depart, and we must settle this seating issue. If you don't comply, I'm afraid we'll have to escort you off." Noah looked ready to protest, but Amara touched his arm. She realized they needed to reach the audition, and a bigger confrontation could strand them at JFK with no immediate recourse. Their father wasn't even in the state. Briefly, Amara considered texting or calling him, but the flight was about to depart, and phone signals were off. Seeing no way to fight without worse consequences, she nodded slowly. "Fine," she said, her voice a mix of resignation and anger. "But we're doing this under protest. I want it noted, we're being forced to move against our will." Karen let out a half-laugh, half-scoff. "Thank you. Was that so hard?" The siblings unbuckled their seatbelts. Noah's cheeks burned with humiliation as he packed his notebook, and Amara's heart pounded with rage. Other passengers murmured disapproval. A baby in row 10 began crying, amplifying the tension. Amara and Noah gathered their carry-ons, and under the gaze of nearly everyone began the long, awkward walk to row 27. Along the way, Amara felt a hand on her shoulder. It was the older man from row 9 who slipped her a small note. "I'm sorry, this happened. This is wrong." She gave him a shaky, grateful smile. Michael Carter hurried after them, likely ensuring they complied. Their new seats were cramped between a family of 4 and 2 burly men possibly on business. The seats were narrower, legroom tight, and the overhead bins full. Noah had to stow his bag under his feet, barely able to stretch. Amara buckled her seatbelt, trembling tears threatening to spill. She felt a mix of anger, shame, and helplessness. Still, she reminded herself to stay calm. There'd be ways to seek justice after landing maybe a formal complaint. What Amara didn't know was how massive their next step would be. In the hours ahead, events would unfold so dramatically that Karen's smug victory would crumble, and the entire crew from attendants to captain would face an unprecedented reckoning. One call to the right person would suffice, and that person, though Amara and Noah didn't fully grasp, it was their father, William Thompson. The flight finally pushed back from the gate nearly 30 minutes late due to the seating fiasco. Amara and Noah sat stiffly in row 27 as the safety briefing began. Their anger and humiliation simmered, the stuffy cabin amplifying each moment. Noah tried distracting himself with the in-flight magazine, but the words blurred as he replayed the confrontation. Amara checked her phone was in airplane mode, her camera still discreetly recording on her lap. As the plane roared down the runway and lifted into the clear blue sky, Noah quietly thought of his audition. Karen's smug face lingered like a mental anchor dragging him down. Amara tried to comfort him, pointing out the window, where New York's skyline gave way to a sea of clouds, but each attempt felt futile. Their excitement from the airport had morphed into deep hurt. When the plane reached cruising altitude and the seatbelt sign dimmed, flight attendants rolled out snack carts. Amara's phone buzzed, likely a delayed message from her father sent before takeoff. She read it quietly. "Hey, Amara, I know you're about to fly. Just wanted to say, I hope you and Noah have a safe trip. If you need anything, call me. I'll be in LA soon for meetings. Maybe we'll celebrate Noah's audition together. Love you both, Dad." William Thompson. Amara's heart ached. He had no idea about the chaos on board. She debated replying, then remembered phone calls were restricted, though texting via Wi-Fi was possible for a fee. The irony that her father, Skyway's secret owner, was a message away both comforted and frustrated her. She decided to buy the in-flight Wi-Fi. Her irritation surged as she typed a long message detailing their humiliation only for an error to pop up, saying the Wi-Fi was temporarily unavailable. Great, Amara muttered, shutting off her screen in frustration. She'd try again later, maybe after the crew finished setting up services. An hour into the flight, she tried again. This time, the Wi-Fi connected. She quickly drafted a message to her father, summarizing how they'd been humiliated and forced to the back to appease an aggressive passenger. She included the flight number, Skyways 722, their seat numbers, and how the captain threatened removal if they didn't comply. She ended with, "I don't want to overreact, but this was wrong. I know you work with these people, but what happened isn't okay. I'm worried about Noah. He's really upset. Please help." She hit send, half expecting an instant reply, but no dots appeared. William hadn't read it yet. Maybe he was in a meeting, or his phone was silent. Amara slumped back, deflated. 15 minutes later, her phone buzzed. She sat up. Dad. William. Thompson. Amara. I'm so sorry this happened. I'm furious. I'll handle it. Sit tight. It'll be okay. Relief washed over her, tinged with uncertainty. How exactly would he handle it? She knew he had connections, especially with Skyways, but not the full scope of his power. Just then, Amara noticed something odd. Up front, 2 flight attendants and Michael Carter clustered around the galley phone, their faces tense. She assumed it was a routine cockpit call, maybe turbulence ahead, but the crew's unease sparked her intuition. Perhaps her father was already moving. Minutes later, a 3rd attendant hurried from first class to the cockpit, looking worried. Karen, lounging in Amara's original seat in row 8, seemed oblivious, sipping a soda and flipping through a magazine. Amara couldn't hear anything from row 27, but guessed the crew had received an urgent message. Captain Lawson reappeared, heading straight to the galley phone for a hushed, intense conversation, occasionally glancing around the cabin. Amara's heart raced. Could her father be calling the cockpit? The idea seemed far-fetched. Her phone pinged with another message. Dad, William Thompson. Sit back and relax. If you can, I'm on the phone with the company. This will be resolved soon. Amara covered her mouth, a mix of excitement and nerves surging. She'd never seen her father wield influence so directly. Usually laid back in business, he rarely leveraged his position. But now, she sensed his fierce resolve when his kids were wronged. Across the aisle, Noah muttered, "What's up?" Amara discreetly showed him the texts, his eyes lit with faint hope. Karen's victory might be shorter-lived than she'd imagined. The next chapter was about to unfold spectacularly. Amara wondered how the crew who'd sided so blatantly with Karen would react when they learned who they'd tried to strong-arm. On the ground, miles away in his sleek Manhattan office, William Thompson hung up with Skyway's airline liaison. He leaned back in his leather chair, fingers tapping the glass desk. A storm of emotions churned: rage at his children's mistreatment, disbelief that his own company's crew catered to an entitled passenger, and regret for keeping his ownership so low-key that even Noah didn't grasp his full influence. William hadn't planned it this way. Years ago, when he acquired Skyway's majority stake, he chose anonymity to keep his family's life simple. He wanted Amara and Noah to grow up grounded, treating everyone with respect, whether in first class or the back row. He despised arrogance and entitlement. Ironically, that humility led to this disaster. Amara and Noah lacked official VIP status, and the crew had no clue the 2 black siblings in row 27 were the owner's children. Frustrated, William stood and paced to the window overlooking New York's skyline. He took a breath, reminding himself to stay calm. Rash decisions and anger could backfire, but this was personal. No one threatened his kids with removal, no matter who they thought they were serving. His desk phone rang. It was Victoria. Hales, the CEO. William strode back and answered on speaker. "Victoria," he greeted. "Tell me what you found." Victoria's voice wavered, clearly. Rattled, "I spoke with the flight's captain, James Lawson. He confirmed a woman. Margaret Harper, a platinum frequent flyer, demanded. Row 8. There was a dispute, and 2 passengers assigned. They were forced to move. The flight was delayed, and apparently, the siblings were threatened with removal if they refused. William's jaw clenched. That matches what Amara told me. Victoria sighed heavily. He apologized profusely, saying he regretted how it was handled, but felt pressured to de-escalate a potential confrontation. He insists he'd never have actually removed them, just threatened to appease Ms. Harper. William gave a dry laugh. Appease Harper? Or calm her down? Victoria's silence spoke volumes. Finally, she added, "We have policies to prevent such discriminatory behavior. The entire crew could face disciplinary action. I'm prepared to convene an executive call immediately." A faint smile crossed William's lips, devoid of joy. "We'll do more than that. Victoria, let them land in LA first. I want the whole crew top to bottom, held until further notice. This won't slide. But for now, keep it quiet. I want to handle this personally." Victoria acknowledged. "Understood, Dr. Thompson. For." She ended the call swiftly. William pressed his temples, a headache brewing. He recalled his youth facing discrimination in subtle and overt forms, while quietly building his empire. To him, wealth was never about power over others. It was about independence. But now that wealth gave him the ability, perhaps the duty to fight for Amara and Noah, he'd do it 1,000 times. He took another deep breath and dialed Amara. The call wouldn't connect mid-flight, so he left a voicemail, his tone firm, yet comforting. "Hey, sweetheart, it's Dad. Listen, I know you two went through hell. I need you to stay calm. We'll sort this out when you land. Try to rest. I'm proud of you for keeping your cool. Love you." He hung up and stared at a photo on his desk, a candid shot of Amara and Noah years ago, biking in a park, carefree and oblivious to the world's complexities. William vowed that when they touched down in Los Angeles, they'd know they had a fierce advocate. And Karen, along with the crew, would learn the costly lesson that no one mistreats William Thompson's children without consequences. Above the clouds, Amara and Noah tried to relax in row 27. Flight attendants offered drinks, but Amara waved them off, too upset to accept a diluted soda as a peace offering. Noah sipped water, silently, his mind replaying the humiliating confrontation. The seatbelt sign flashed after mild turbulence. Amara leaned toward him. Dad texted. She whispered, "He's handling it. Something might be happening right now." Noah raised an eyebrow. "But what can he do? He's like a business consultant or something, right?" Amara shrugged, unsure how much to reveal. For years, they knew William dabbled in industries, real estate, tech, investments, philanthropy. But she began suspecting his Skyways stake was far bigger than they'd thought. "I'm not sure," she said finally, "but I trust him." Just then, a faint noise drew their attention forward. They saw Michael Carter on the galley phone again, listening intently, glancing nervously at Amara and Noah. Meanwhile, Susan, the supervisor, hurried to row 8. Karen, reading a glossy magazine and munching free snacks, looked annoyed as Susan whispered to her. Amara couldn't hear, but Karen's expression shifted from irritation to slight worry. She then glared at Amara and Noah with venom. Noah noticed too. Why's she staring like that? Amara's phone buzzed in her pocket. She carefully pulled it out, shielding the screen. "Dad, William Thompson, talk to the captain and company. We're working to fix this while you're still in the air." You might see attitude changes soon, before Amara could finish reading the crew gathered up front again. Captain Lawson emerged from the cockpit for a tense, quick talk with Michael. Then, in a bizarre twist, Karen stood protesting loudly her words, too distant to hear clearly. But Amara caught fragments. "This is ridiculous, Omance." Later, 2 attendants escorted Karen down the aisle passing Amara and Noah. Her face burned with anger and confusion, her glare locking onto Amara as if silently blaming her for this sudden shift. Amara's heart pounded. She didn't fully understand, but it felt like an orchestrated intervention, maybe from her father. The attendants led Karen to row 28, an aisle seat next to a sleeping passenger. The blatant downgrade left her livid. Amara could hardly believe it. Then Captain Lawson approached, addressing Amara and Noah directly, his eyes flicking to Amara's phone. "My apologies." He began, his voice tight with forced courtesy. "We've received clarification from the company about seat assignments. There was a major error in how we handled this earlier. You two should never have been asked to move." Noah's eyes widened. "So what does that mean?" Michael Carter stepped in, looking uneasy. "We'd like to offer you 2 complimentary business class seats for the remainder of the flight." Amara and Noah exchanged stunned glances. Amara took a breath, recalling their earlier humiliation. "You're offering business class after threatening to kick us off." Captain Lawson glanced at Michael, clearly regretting the escalation. "We understand how this looks. I assure you, we're sincerely sorry. The company has instructed us to correct this immediately." Karen, craning from row 28, nearly hissed, "You can't pull me from my seat and stick me back here. This isn't how airlines treat loyal customers." Susan, maintaining a bright smile, responded, "Miss Harper, we're correcting a serious error. The seat you were moved to aligns with your original booking. We've accommodated you in premium economy as booked." "You're punishing me," Karen spat, ignoring nearby passengers' murmurs. Amara's pulse raced. This was a moment to stand firm or accept the comfier seats. She also felt a spark of schadenfreude. Karen was now the one forced to move a personal affront to her inflated ego. Michael cleared his throat. "Mr. Noah, Ms. Amara, we'd be honored if you'd accept business class for the rest of the flight." Amara glanced at Noah, who shrugged and whispered, "Why not?" They carefully unbuckled and gathered their belongings. Nearby passengers clapped lightly or nodded approval, clearly aware. Justice was unfolding. Amara stepped into the aisle, feeling countless eyes on her. She paused by Karen, who glared with icy fury. "Enjoy," Amara said softly, her tone laced with quiet triumph. She followed Noah and the attendants to the front. It was a surreal reversal. Hours earlier, they'd been humiliated. Now they were ushered to plush, fully reclinable business class seats with gourmet meals and personalized service. They settled in, still dazed by the swift turn. The velvet-upholstered seats had ample legroom for Noah. A flight attendant promptly offered warm towels and apologized again for the inconvenience. Amara kept her phone on her lap, discreetly recording. She gazed out the window, thinking of her father. "Thanks, Dad," she whispered. She didn't know the full extent of William's actions, only that his influence had shifted the crew's attitude in record time. What Amara and Noah couldn't yet grasp was that this was just the beginning. When they landed in Los Angeles, the incident would explode into a PR nightmare for Skyways, and the crew would find themselves at the center of a controversy no seat reassignment or free upgrade could fix. Meanwhile, on the ground, Skyways' Atlanta headquarters buzzed with frantic activity. Phone lines lit up, emails pinged, and senior executives scrambled to piece together how a routine domestic flight spiraled into a potential media crisis. A group of top officials, including CEO Elizabeth Grant and COO Victoria Hales, convened an emergency video call. William Thompson joined from Manhattan, his face unreadable as he listened to the company's planned steps. "I've sent an internal memo to all relevant departments," Victoria said, tapping her tablet. "Post-landing, the crew is to report immediately. Our PR team is drafting a statement, though we hope this stays internal." William smirked at her last remark. With Amara recording much of the incident and other passengers sharing phone footage, a leak was almost certain. "What about Margaret Harper?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Elizabeth grimaced. "She's a platinum frequent flyer and long-time customer. However, we've reviewed her file. She's lodged multiple frivolous complaints about our staff in the past, from minor delays to seat issues. This is the first time she's forced other passengers out. Clearly, her loyalty has been overshadowed by misconduct." William raised an eyebrow. "So you knew she could be difficult," Victoria confirmed. "She's well known among some crews, but as a frequent flyer, we've always treated her with utmost courtesy. We didn't anticipate this escalating to displacing others, let alone your children." William inhaled slowly, tamping down rising anger. "All right, now you know," he said quietly. "I want a full investigation into Flight 722, every minute from boarding to mid-flight. Statements from the captain, attendants, Harper, and my kids. Any hint of discrimination or policy violation will face appropriate discipline." Elizabeth and Victoria exchanged tense glances. "We'll do exactly that," Elizabeth assured. "Once the plane lands, we'll collect everyone's accounts. If your children are willing, we'd greatly value their statements." William nodded. "Oh, they'll be ready to talk. And one more thing, Elizabeth. If I find any evidence Amara and Noah were targeted for their race, or that Harper's demands were met due to bias, this won't just be a company policy issue. It'll be a personal crusade to take down anyone involved or who allowed it." His tone was icy, leaving no doubt he'd protect his kids at all costs. The corporate call ended soon after, with executives scrambling to act. William sat alone, a mix of anger and relief swirling. At least Amara and Noah were safe, enjoying business-class comfort. But the real storm was brewing. The last thing he wanted was a scandal overshadowing Amara's filmmaking or Noah's piano dreams. But if a scandal was needed for justice, so be it. At Skyways headquarters, executives debated damage control. One suggested offering Amara and Noah hush money vouchers, but Victoria shot it down with a glare. They couldn't bury the truth with travel credits, especially when the public learned 2 young black passengers were displaced for an aggressive Karen, only for the crew to do a 180 under external pressure. The incident risked going viral, tarnishing Skyways' image of inclusivity and customer care. A staffer approached Victoria, whispering urgently. She nodded gravely. Another passenger on Flight 222 had tweeted, "Now our Skyways too." Just saw 2 black siblings kicked out of their seats for an entitled woman. Now they're back in business class. Wild. Something big's happening. The tweet was gaining traction. Victoria's day was about to get messier. She hoped Amara and Noah would accept the company's apology before going public. Given the situation, this was shaping up as a PR nightmare. No airline wanted a scandal involving alleged racism, power abuse, and the humiliation of innocent passengers, even if those passengers were the owner's kids. When Flight 722 touched down at Los Angeles International Airport, Amara and Noah felt a mix of excitement and dread. The landing was smoother than expected, but they knew the real turbulence awaited on the ground. As business-class passengers, they were among the first to deplane. Stepping into the jetway, they saw two officials in suits, waiting, both wearing Skyways badges. Ms. Thompson. Mr. Thompson, the man asked politely, his tone almost reverent. Amara and Noah exchanged surprised looks. "That's us," Amara said. The woman smiled, though her face was tense. "Welcome to Los Angeles. Mr. Thompson has arranged immediate transport to a private meeting room. A brief meeting is scheduled with select team members. We understand this was a difficult journey. We want to ensure you feel comfortable and heard." Noah, still shaken, nodded. Amara took a breath. "All right, let's go." Part of her wanted to skip the corporate drama. She was exhausted and craved rest, but she sensed her father had orchestrated this. They followed the officials through the terminal, bypassing the usual baggage claim crowds. Karen was nowhere in sight, and Amara felt fleeting relief at avoiding her. For now, Noah looked to Amara, letting her lead. She squared her shoulders and spoke firmly, her voice steady. "What happened wasn't just a booking error. We were threatened with removal. If we didn't comply, we were humiliated in front of everyone, and we can't ignore that." Ms. Harper's behavior felt racially charged. Whether you realized it then or not, we felt targeted. Because she was a priority passenger, and we were just two black kids who didn't seem to deserve premium seats. Captain Lawson looked down. "I'm truly sorry," he muttered again. Victoria Hales chimed in via laptop screen. "We're conducting a thorough investigation. Ms. Harper will also be required to provide her statement. Based on the findings, disciplinary actions will ensure this never happens again." Amara lifted her chin. "I don't want good people losing jobs, but I want accountability. What Karen did was unacceptable, and the crew's response, especially threatening to remove us, was unacceptable too." William Thompson spoke for the first time, nodding. "Skyways prides itself on fairness and inclusion. Today, it failed my children. That failure lies with all of us, from me as the owner to the crew." Noah's eyes widened slightly at owner. He whispered to Amara, "Did you know he actually owned Skyways?" Amara shook her head faintly. "They'd process that later." Elizabeth cleared her throat, cutting through the room's tension. "Now Amara and Noah know that your father has made it clear. We must make this right. We've already begun. The question is, how would you like to proceed? Legal action, a formal complaint, media exposure, or perhaps a direct resolution with the airline?" Noah spoke, surprising even himself with his calm. "I just want to get to my audition tomorrow morning. I've practiced so hard. This incident almost ruined everything." William nodded sympathetically. "We'll get you there in style, son." "And Amara, I'll support whatever you decide, but rest assured I'll ensure changes happen at the highest level." Amara saw genuine remorse in Captain Lawson's eyes, and Michael Carter seemed sincerely contrite. I want a formal apology from Ms. Harper, Amara declared, and a commitment that this airline will better train its staff to handle seat disputes, especially when racial bias might be involved. Victoria responded, "We're committed to that, whatever it takes." And so the confrontation closed in a heavy but hopeful atmosphere. Their father was no longer a distant figure, but their fierce protector, capable of moving mountains for justice. The stage was set for Karen's reckoning, as she'd face consequences for her arrogance and prejudice. Amara and Noah would walk away, not as victims, but as victors determined to share their story. After the meeting, they were escorted to a sleek black SUV waiting outside the terminal. They climbed in, feeling a strange mix of relief and lingering tension. Their father's voice came through the car's speakerphone. "I'm so proud of you both for staying strong. Rest tonight. Focus on Noah's audition tomorrow. We'll handle the rest." Amara turned to Noah. "Ready to move past this?" "At least for now," he sighed. "I think so. Gotta focus on the audition. That's the priority." The driver took them to a 5-star hotel, all expenses covered by Skyways, as a goodwill gesture. In the lobby, Amara noticed a flurry of social media notifications. People tagged her in posts about the Flight 722 Karen incident, some including passenger footage. She considered uploading her own video, but decided to wait until discussing it with her father. For now, Noah's audition took precedence. For Amara and Noah, the ordeal had come full circle. They'd found justice, uncovered their father's hidden influence, and affirmed their resilience against prejudice. Meanwhile, Karen, once so confident in her superiority, faced a flight ban, widespread online mockery, and potential lawsuits from the airline. Karma had a way of circling back at 30,000 feet. A simple cross-country flight had become an unforgettable saga of arrogance, bias, and ultimate redemption. Amara and Noah were nearly stripped of their seats and dignity by a Karen, only to discover their father, William Thompson, owned the very airline that wronged them. Their fight for justice exposed power, divides, forcing the crew and Karen to face consequences. In the end, integrity and truth prevailed, giving Amara and Noah the resolution they deserved. If this gripping story of two siblings standing up to injustice and finding redemption moved you, please help spread it. Hit the like button to show your support for tales of resilience and justice. Share this video with friends who love real-life dramas that spark hope. Drop a comment below. What moment in Amara and Noah's journey hit you hardest? Or share your thoughts on standing up to unfair treatment. If you're passionate about stories like this, subscribe to our channel and tap the bell icon to catch every inspiring tale we release. Your support fuels our mission to amplify voices that matter. Thank you for joining our community together. We're making a difference.